Back with the football in focus from the actually from the Tee It Up Indoors. I was going to say Shane's Rib Shack, Kickback Jacks. Tee Up Indoors on Battleground. Good to have you along again this evening in the program. Got Demetri Morrison with us again. Going to talk about some football and maybe a little basketball too on the program this evening with Tee It Up Indoors, Davis Troxler's golf facility here on Battleground. Great place to be inside during the cold outside. Trying to play golf outdoors, inside much better. Bring your full set of clubs, come in, get a good full workout in at the Tee It Up Indoors at Davis Troxler on Battleground. And got Demetri with us. Demetri, first, we talked about that basketball this afternoon. I thought I'd come back while I was still thinking about that. We talked about trying to get the basketball going for Southwest Guilford. Coach Greg Vlasny, Coach Vlaz.
Yes.
And the Cowboys get that going again. And something hit my mind after our conversation. I always try to get these ideas in while they're still fresh on the mind. But it hit me, you do the play-by-play, which you did for football, and you do it for basketball too, but I thought an idea to get this really going maybe a little bit even further in the right direction, maybe get Coach White involved in this, because he used to do the commentary for Chris Walzer back in the day.
Okay.
So if he's interested, you might want to contact him. It also might cause the whole thing to spin even quicker in the right direction. If he's into it, somebody from the school.
That does make sense. That's who I first mentioned it to, so I'll
see what Coach White says. He may want to do it because he did the commentary for Chris back when they were doing the games, back when the Langley brothers, Kobe and Keyshawn, were leading the team to the championship a few years back.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's good teams back then. And Kobe and Keyshawn now I think are like seventh-year seniors at UNCG. They're still playing.
Yeah, they got those extra COVID years.
Yeah, the Kobe and Keyshawn COVID years, they're still playing. But that Southwest Guilford basketball was a good idea. You and Coach Vlaz, and maybe get Coach White involved, get all those guys moving. Because Coach Vlaz his dad used to listen a lot too back in the day. His dad always listened.
Yeah, he sounded like a nice guy, and Coach White says he's pretty down to earth guy that he thinks he'll be, with it. I talked to him earlier, and he's going to speak to the boosters, and hopefully they'll get some things going and pull us aboard. Yeah,
and you had Coach Vlaz. He actually played at UNCG back in the day.
Okay, I didn't know that.
He was like one of those guys who came in. He and a guy named Don. You remember Donald Moore Jr.?
Yes.
Back in his day at Page, he played at Page, you played at Grimsley. Donald Moore Jr., he and Coach Vlaz were on the same teams over at UNCG back when Fran McCaffrey, who's now, I guess, still at Iowa, the Hawkeyes.
Coach Fran was a good coach.
Yeah, he did a good job there. Had success there.
He was real hot. A lot of colleges wanted him.
Good thing he did. Those coaches do good at UNCG and get that boost to the next direction.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened with him. And his wife, she's a former Notre Dame player back in her college days. Football-wise, last week Cowboys came up a little bit short, but again, they're hoping to maybe turn around, get going again. But last year they made it. This year they didn't make it. I wonder what the difference was. Why they didn't get in this year?
The Cowboys, I won't say they had a fail of a season. I won't say it wasn't as good as it should have been. They finished the season 5-5, so it was 500. They were 3-4 in the conference, which is under 500. They missed the playoffs. You got Grimsley, Northwest, and Page.
From your conference, yeah.
Right, from the Metro 4A. So they had those top two seeds were pretty much locked up, being Grimsley and Northwest. Northwest came in to Southwest. They visited their home field, and Southwest actually started the ball game out pretty good.
That's what I read. I think was there a turnover that turned things around?
Remember I told you last week they had a kickoff return that went to the house. It got called back, but then they came back and scored on the next play. Well, they had a kickoff return this game as well. Corbin Wilson took it to the house and flag on the play. So I told you, I think last time we were on the air, that Southwest had a penalty problem that pretty much hindered them on the season. That problem never went away.
The weird thing is, you look at the Page and Southwest situation. The Southwest beats Page, which was another close game again this year. Southwest is in, Page is out.
Exactly, and Page beat Southwest last year. The game was kind of a mirror of last year. Southwest controlled the game, the whole entire football game, from quarter one to about maybe 3 to 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. That's when, Page got it going. They did not give up on the run, kept giving it to that running back. Eventually, the Southwest Guilford defense wore down, and that has been a hindrance of them as well. Two things that I noticed of Southwest when they lose is because of running, the rushing attack from the other teams, and penalties, shooting themselves in the foot.
So defense against the run's pretty rough.
Yes. They have a really good defensive line led by Jalen Carl. He had an excellent season. Rob Lange made some great plays as well. They had another guy, it's not McGinnis, I can't think of his last name. I know he wore number 90. he was pretty good. So their defensive line was solid, but anytime other teams got past that first level, the linebackers were questionable. Like I stated, they have Anthony Palmer and a guy named Tumsa was the middle linebacker as well. They were solid, but for some reason or another, once the defense or the offense would get past that first level, Southwest was in trouble.
What was the difference in the Northwest game? Why do you think they lost to Northwest? It was 24-0, which is not a ton of points to be put up against a team.
Well,
Southwest didn't score, and he scored some points to win the game, but only gave up 24 defensively.
Right, and the game was much closer than the score was 24-0. Southwest did not get on the scoreboard. But as stated, the kickoff return was called back. They had a chance to cut the score in half because it was 14-0 before halftime. Southwest had a huge turnover. They got the ball back. They were driving up the field. They completed a bomb down the field to Darius Harrison for about 40 yards. He made a great catch. The next play, they threw an out route to Christian Johnson. He made a nice catch on the sideline and fumble. So penalties and turnovers will kill you every single time.
They were moving the ball.
They were moving the ball, trying to put at least 6 points on the board right before halftime. And crowd was behind them and everything. One thing about Southwest, when they are down, their body language doesn't really show it. So they tried to stay in the ball game the best they could, but that turnover before the half was really deflating. They came back in the second half and tried, but Northwest Guilford is coached pretty well. Their quarterback,
I was going to ask you, how effective was Tanner Ballou against
Tanner Ballou
Southwest?
he was really effective. They run a audible every play, so it's a fake snap. Sometimes Southwest would be undisciplined and jump off sides, sometimes not. But Tanner Ballou, he doesn't hold on to the ball very long. He hands it off to that running back of
Malik Jones.
Malik Jones is fast. Malik Jones, as soon as he hikes the ball, he hands it to Malik. Malik hits the hole very quickly. He'll hit the hole very quickly. And by the time the defenders get to him, he's got 5 yards. So.
What about the passing game? Did Trent Cloud, did he play at all?
They had a guy number 9.
That was probably Rakeem.
Rakeem, I cannot think of his last name.
Hammock, Mr. Hammock. Rakeem Hammock, the
and I believe
freshman.
he's a freshman. Yeah, I was about to say, I
Yeah.
believe he's a freshman as well. He scored on a 32-yard jet sweep early in the first quarter, and he put a touchdown up right before halftime. He caught about a 14-yard slant across the middle. It was 3rd and long.
Yeah.
Southwest Guilford finally had some luck in their favor, got a penalty. It was backed up out of the goal line. Tanner Ballou throws a nice slant across the middle. There's no defender in sight, wide open touchdown. So, and I pointed that out, that he was a freshman getting this done against the Southwest Guilford team.
As soon as Trent Cloud, their top receiver, number 2, usually we're in that number, he went down, Hammock really started to step his game up.
Yeah, Hammock was a playmaker. The fact that he was a freshman and, making the biggest plays for their offense was surprising as well. Well, I'm not going to say the biggest plays unless we're talking about just putting points on the board. That would be considered a big play. Like I said, Malik Jones had it going all night on the ground too.
And Ryan Debo, did he come in and spell Jones some? Number 1, Debo?
Ryan Debo would come in and run the football every now and again, but Malik Jones was the
carrier. He was a workhorse.
Yes, he was.
And on defense, was it like Andrew Dover and Thomas Orrell, the linebackers, getting involved a lot?
Andrew Dover's name got called quite often. Orrell, he didn't have too much of a good game, but their defense.
I think Austin Jackson got involved some, from what I saw, numbers-wise.
It was pretty much a good team effort. They had a cornerback. I believe he was a sophomore.
That might have been Jackson.
Yeah, he was lined up one-on-one with Corbin Wilson. So Corbin never got it going. Of course, Coach White put Darius in the backfield here and there. The offense just did not get it going that night.
I'll tell you what, they've been throwing the ball so well coming in that game. Past 2 or 3 weeks before then, those 2 or 3 previous games, they put up some very good numbers out of the passing game.
Yeah, Cale Lloyd threw for 300 against Ragsdale the week before, so you're expecting a big game from him.
And had 2 100-yard receivers that game.
Exactly. Darius Harrison is a running back and receiver. Coach White did put him in the backfield and put him at the slot receiver as well. But like I stated, Northwest was just very disciplined and did not allow that offense to get going for Southwest at all. Cale Lloyd, he will throw an interception here and there. He threw a couple Friday, and that Northwest Guilford defense, they just capitalized.
So there were a couple picks in that game.
Yes.
At least.
Yes. There was a couple of drop passes too. Not much that would have went for a score or anything. I think Donnell Prince may have dropped a couple of short passes. He was wide open downfield a couple of times, but Lloyd was unable to connect with him. And Prince showed a little bit of frustration too, after a couple of incomplete passes, being the end of the season with those guys trying to make the playoffs, after a few bad passes here and there, instead of the receivers, going to talk to the quarterback, they were getting attitudes.
Were you guys doing senior night that night?
Yeah, it was senior night, and it didn't turn out too good for the Cowboys.
It's tough. Did they do it before the game or at halftime?
I was before the game, and I'm pretty sure Coach White's going to hate to see a lot of those players go. He did attend the senior night. A lot of senior leadership. He was, right there at the track greeting them as they came off the field. I'm pretty sure that's hard to see them go.
Hugs and stuff going on?
Well, he kept it manly. He didn't give any hugs, just a pound here or there, fist bump. But I'm pretty sure it matters to him.
Might have been some hugs after the game, probably, guys. Their very last game, some emotions probably caught up with some of those guys.
I'm sure hugs and tears. And Darius Hairston, his emotions got flying at the end of the game. Coach White, took him out, and he had a little spell on the end of the sideline, but he got his emotions back in check. And I stated on the radio, realization hit some of those guys. Realize that is the last time that they will be on the field. Yeah, it is. It becomes a realization. So once you see that you're going to lose that ball game, your attitude can kind of get out of check.
What about you're watching that game, you're thinking back when you were playing back in the day, because I've been studying some receiving some lately. What was your favorite pass route you used to run? Can you describe it, the route you loved the best, when you felt like every time you ran that route, when they targeted you, you're going to be making that catch?
Yes.
Can you see that route in your mind?
On the high school level, we had something Coach Smouse had, distance routes. Short routes were called Quincy and long routes were called Chopper. So my favorite route in high school was a curl route. Well, we had a niche to that as well, either out of the Quincy or Dragon formation, a curl and go. So you run the curl, quarterback pumps it, and then you run the fake, end up going upfield. So I used to love running a fake curl and spinning and end up being.
How far did you go upfield before you did your curl?
If it's Quincy, it's about 5 to 7 yards. If it's Dragon, it's 10 to 12. So it's really situational.
Good stuff.
As far as when you want to run the routes, depending upon where the first down marker is.
So you kept up with the yardstick pretty well too.
Absolutely. As a receiver, you have to know where the sticks are. Southwest got in a couple of situations Friday night where it would be 3rd and maybe 8 or 9, and Coach White would make sure he would call plays to where they would run far enough to get the first down. You don't want to get a catch on 3rd and 8.
The coach got to remind them about that too, because they get so caught up in that situation. They're thinking so much about catching that ball, they forget they got to go to that certain point.
You have to get past the sticks. Yeah, you don't want to run a 5-yard route and you got 9 to go.
Would you like running up the field about 5-7 yards, plant, and then make that cut in the streak, or you kind of float in there and look for the ball?
I love to chop my feet, and you, as a receiver, you have to read the defense. So when you chop your feet, it's going to make the defensive back really not know what you're doing because your feet aren't stopping, so he doesn't know where you're going.
Yeah, if you stop the feet, it's all about that time. You got to get up there and do it quick and then go, right? You can't sit there and just, go into the old fire drill situation. You're stopping your feet, waiting there a minute or two, and then wait. You haven't got that much time to go.
Right, and then like I said, you have to read the defense as well, because you're not just trying to get open from the guy that's guarding you. You have to look at the linebackers as well. They could be in zone. If they're in zone, you want to kind of sit behind them where they are not. If they're in man, you want to keep it moving.
Right, keep the feet moving. Well, let's move on to this. What about this week? We got several teams left. Quickly, North Meck 5-5 at Grimsley, 10-0. North Meck's number 29, Grimsley's number 4 in the seedings and the brackets. What about you? Think Grimsley looks pretty good this week, I'm sure.
Yeah, Grimsley's probably going to beat them 50 to zip. This is the first round. They're a 5-5 team. They're 500, but 500 teams are no match for Grimsley.
What about Northwest? Big road game at Chambers. Coach Brandon Wiggins was at Smith. He now coaches at Chambers. It used to be Vance. Chambers 7-3. Northwest is better at 8-2, but they're seeded 17. Chambers 16. Who you like in this one?
That's more of a close matchup. You stayed at 7-3, 8-2. That's a pretty even record. I do like Northwest Guilford. They are coached pretty good. Tanner Ballou, he has that offense rolling.
And you got Northwest coach, like you very well coached, Coach Chris Rusevich, former Guilford College head coach, stepped down to coach at the high school ranks and to be at Guilford College a few years. That's a pretty good guy to pick up right there.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he brings a lot of experience from that college level to high school, some things that he's seen on a higher level that probably helps on the 4A level.
How many hopes do you have for Page? They're at 5-5, seeded number 26 in the 4A West against number 7 East Forsyth. East Forsyth 9-1. Page is 5-5.
It may be a close game, possibly if you look at the rivalry aspect for it being just a conference game. As far as the talent on the field, I think East Forsyth's going to have too much for them.
You think Page's limitations hurt them again? The fact they can just pretty much
took
only
the words
run the
out
ball?
of my mouth. Page can only run the ball, so I don't think it's going to be a problem for East Forsyth. They'll key in on the running back.
They got that quarterback at East Forsyth, Bryce Baker, the Bryce Baker from Forsyth County versus Bryce Baker from Rockingham County. Anyway, the Bryce Baker at East Forsyth is very good, and he's had some good games the past couple of weeks. They beat West Forsyth last week. The big rival beat them pretty well. So, like you said, I think East Forsyth's good for at least 2 or 3 weeks here.
And Rockingham County, too. Rockingham County, they're not a bad team. They're just in a tough conference.
Right, exactly. And they're playing, I think, North Lincoln. I think going to be on the road, maybe 18, Rockingham County versus 15, North Lincoln. I like Rockingham County. I like that quarterback, Bryce Baker. Good runner, good passer, and knows how to see the defenses and get the reads. His dad's the head coach, so knows all about football, so they might just win that game.
Yeah, Rockingham County's better than advertised. I thought they would actually have a chance against Dudley. Yeah. They did not. Dudley killed them, but I think they'll have a chance against other teams.
Eastern Guilford did well against Rockingham County, too. Beat them by more than people may have thought they would. What about to the 3A guys right quick, local West? Iredale at Dudley. Dudley 10-0. Iredale 6-4, number 29 versus number 4. Again, the Panthers have that load of receivers. The key is you don't really have a guy going out for a pass. He's going out for a toss. Toss it to him, he takes off and runs.
Yeah, that's what Dudley does. They get the ball to their athletes. The coaches have been working on them throwing the football downfield, but they really don't have to. They got a stable of running backs. L.J. Southern, he's a beast, junior running back. He's a member of my church, so I see and talk to him every now and again.
He's good.
Dudley, I'm not going to say playing a 6-4 team is going to be a blowout because they did lose in the first round a couple of years ago. So I won't say that, but I do think Dudley will come away with the win.
Central Davidson's 5-5. They're half and half. Number 20 seed at Eastern Guilford, number 13 seed. Eastern Guilford's 8-2, and have lost to 2 very good teams. Western Alabama's overtime. Dudley and played Dudley's 7-7 halftime game last Friday night, and then got whipped up on in the second half. But I mean, Eastern Guilford's got a 6'5" senior quarterback who's also the punter. Had a 44-yard field goal last week. Had punts that were going up about 10 miles in the air high. And even the Dudley coach, Stephen Davis, said, man, I've not seen anybody punt like that. That's like a college punter there. But they got some weapons on Eastern Guilford. Yeah,
and 2 losses if you lose against Dudley and Eastern Guilford. That's 2 good games to prepare for in the playoffs.
What about Northeast Guilford in the playoffs for the first time in a pretty good while? They're at 7-3, going to West Charlotte. West Charlotte's a tough place to go play at.
Yes, it is.
Historically tough school.
It is. I actually had to play at West Charlotte. Let me tell you a quick story about that. 1998, Grimsley, we finally made it to the playoffs, first time in 7 years. It was freezing. It was in November. First round against West Charlotte. All of us go up there in trench coats, toboggans, Elmer Fudd hats because it was cold. We get off the bus, and the West Charlotte guys were in shorts, cut-off T-shirts, and football gloves, so that was real intimidating. I did see a special on West Charlotte on the news, on Spectrum News the other day. They are having a pretty good season this year. They did take a 21-point loss last week, I believe.
Probably a little 4A team in that 3A, 4A split conference.
Yeah, they took a 21-point loss, but West Charlotte's going to be something to deal with in the playoffs.
A lot of heritage there. A lot of that's a historically tough school.
Yeah, traditionally they are good.
And historically tough neighborhood, that area too they come from. Yeah, no doubt about that. Final Guilford County teams: High Point Andrews 6-4 at North Stanley 7-3. High Point Andrews got McManus, ran for 300 yards last week. The running back, I think, just let him and the quarterback run. If they can run, they can win.
If they can run, they can win. I think High Point Andrews, they are 6-4. They got a couple of wins. I think they got lucky there. My opinion, High Point Andrews might not get out of the first round.
So we could be fortunate if we've got 4 teams. Very fortunate. May just be 3 teams left after round 1.
And that's still pretty good.
Not bad, not bad. And I think after that we may have just in a long term scheme of things, maybe just 2 teams.
Dudley and Grimsley?
For the distance, yeah.
Yeah, they have a shot.
Demetri, we got to get rolling. Good job as always. Appreciate your time. Look forward to seeing you again very soon. I hope you get that Southwest Guilford basketball going.
I'll keep you posted.
Yep. Talk to Coach White and see if we get him on board, part of the team.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
All righty.